No? Okay, we're not shaking hands. Six years ago, I remember holding a flower arrangement in my hands. And I was in an art gallery very similar to this. And I remember looking at it and thinking to myself, well, this is beautiful, this is gorgeous, but it's static, it's still, it's stationary. We have entire forms of art dedicated to motion. Dance. What if we could allow this flower arrangement to move? What if we could let plants dance? Over the course of 3 years, I would study choreography and robotics at Purdue University, and I remember to this day the very opening night of the first performance piece we did there. 3 humanoid dancers on the stage, curled up around each other, and as the music starts, they start to undulate out, and as they fall backwards, almost like a balloon, a plant rises from center stage and starts to float among the dancers. And the moment I realized that we had successfully gotten plants to dance was as that plant landed on my chest. Over the course of the next 3 years, I'd actually end up doing my entire master's thesis in this and then performance in front of over 300 people at Purdue, where I built 2 custom robots and create a great team of not only dancers, but friends to this day. And it was one of the most beautiful things that I got to see. And so today, I'm going to take a moment to talk about this and my experiences getting to this point. I'm going to talk to you guys about why these dancing plants are going to save mathematics. My name is Carl Landskren, and I do a lot of things. I'm a spear fighter. I'm a computer scientist. I've smuggled robots into China. Probably not supposed to say that one. I've even given TED Talks without shoes on, right? Bet a lot of people out there can't say that right now. No other speakers take my thunder right now. Anywho, with that though, one of the biggest things that I tell people that is initially confusing is that I am what's called an experimental algorist. Now, experimental algorist is someone who conceptualizes art pieces so technologically advanced that they can't exist right now. And then we push the art pieces far enough to allow them to come into existence. I've done lots of different pieces along the way, including ones that use different algorithms to show different art pieces. Lots of different art pieces that involve mathematics overall to create something beautiful. And with that, along the way, I started my master's thesis in creating dancing plants. Now, created a lot of conceptualization phases. We had laser cutting, we had assembly, lots of testing on the kitchen counter. Mom wasn't happy about that one. Soldering, making custom robots, making modules, and one of the biggest things is consulting a lot of experts in the field of robotics. I did get to visit that kid again this last year out in Colorado, and he is currently making a robot to vacuum the floor. I'm very excited about the competition Roomba is about to have right now. With that, once you create the pieces, though, you actually have to start testing, you have to start experimenting, you have to start showing off these different pieces. And occasionally, if it plays, and so, with that, though, I was able to create one of those amazing pieces. Okay? Now, why was it that I spent 3 years of my life trying to get plants to dance? Let's take it back a long, long time ago to a snowy day in December, when I remember as a kid, we were inside for indoor recess. And on that day, little tiny me would not be playing with the Lincoln Logs or the random other things around, but rather I was on the floor with the chalkboard, teaching my friends mathematics. I'd screw out the different things, showing them the things that I had learned just slightly before them so that they could understand them themselves. And one of the things about this that I found fascinating was mathematics had almost a psychedelic feature to it. You take a couple rules, put them in place, and the world would explode from that. That's something, those words, not mine, they're from a man named Paul Lockhart, and I read about him in high school. And I read his works because I had a problem that was really, really challenging to me. Well, I loved mathematics. Most people hated it. According to a study from K. Abdul Ghaffar, 88% of students say math is their hated subject. And only 6 reported it as they're liked. And there's a series of studies that range from 50% to 80% that state these facts. But it's very concerning because the thing I love, the thing I find beautiful, people hate. But why? Well, Paul Lockhart would go on to explain this conceptual idea. It has to do with how we teach mathematics, not the teachers themselves, but how we teach. And the best way to describe it is to think about what would happen if we taught art like we taught math. Now, true art is hard, and it's really important for work. Visuals are incredibly important. How many people here painted a picture sometime in school? Raise your hand. Okay? Leave it up if it was actually good. Yeah, you know what I mean? You're feeling it, right? And so imagine a world where the policymakers say, I think painting is incredibly important. It's visual, it's critical for communication skills. And so we're going to make sure that we teach it really, really well. However, here's the thing. True painting is extremely hard. To paint beautiful mountains, a child's not just going to do that. So we have to think about how we teach them the principles of painting. And so in this world, the little elementary school kids might be running around and they're not painting things, but they're learning how to mix colors and dunk their brushes. You can't paint things yet, it's too advanced. You then hit elementary school, and now they're focused on drawing specific things. You get your little worksheet. Day 1, you draw a vertical line. Day 2, 2 vertical lines. Day 3, a horizontal line. And by the end of the unit, you can draw everything to create a house. And some kids get really good grades. Some kids don't get good grades. Little Susie gets marked off because she chose to put a dog in her house, and that's not what the instructions said. And then you get to high school and they realize that not everyone's going to become a painter. And so instead, we should make sure we teach the fundamentals of painting. You should take a paintbrush, and rather than trying to paint a picture, let's have them paint something. What does everyone have? I guess everyone has a fence. So let's teach kids to paint fences. And you'd be painting fence like so, and the honors kids are doing the lattice on the fences. You hit your SAT prep, right? And the actual SAT, it looks something like this, but you get to the real one, and you have to paint a gate. And you've never painted a gate before, and you're panicking. You're slapping paint every which way. You're hoping for the best. And at the end of the day, you said, I didn't like art. I wasn't good at art. But what you really meant is you hated painting that fence. And that's what we're seeing in mathematics today. We're not letting kids do math because math is hard. We're having kids paint fences. We're giving them not problems, but exercises. Be honest, who here really likes to exercise? Not me. And so Paul Lockhart argued that we need a change. We have to adjust our culture. It's not with the teachers. They're overworked and stressed enough. It's with the policymakers, and it's with us mathematicians ourselves who like to treat us like these high-up grand wizards. Huzzah! What I do is hard, and you can't do it. We need a cultural change. But culture is hard. It is hard to change culture. It is hard to change opinions. It's hard to change minds. And that's difficult. But I realized something in high school. I would create these mathematical art pieces. And rather than other students looking at them and saying, oh, you, math, they'd say, whoa, how'd you create that? And it was in that moment I realized that those art pieces sparked the curiosity that lit a flame to education. They'd suddenly be interested in learning about multivariate calculus, linear algebra, concepts that were completely foreign to them. And normally they revolt at. But because there was something beautiful, something intriguing, something they were curious about, they wanted to learn. And so maybe we need to think about how we create these policies. And rather than generating a bunch of exercises for students to do, things that there's a perfect answer or not, let's think about the creativity that we can put behind it. Let's think about how we can show beautiful art pieces that maybe students look at and say, whoa, how do we create that? And then give them the ability to create those art pieces themselves. In some of my performances with Dancing Plants, I remember one of the participants saying, wow, this feels so alive. And it wasn't a statement because it was logically alive. It was emotionally alive. And that emotionalness is what led curiosity. That's why I have a strong, strong belief that art is the way that we push students to learn about the wonders of the world. And that's why Dancing Plants will someday save mathematics. Thank you very much.